They are present in cluster manufacturing.
So we're excited to hear what you got to say, and I'll leave the stage to you.
Thank you. All right, and thank you for being here today. If you're watching live, thank you for joining, and also I want to take this opportunity to thank Siemens for bringing me here from Cleveland. So we'll be talking real quick about the current state of the go-to-market of large giants such as Siemens companies through a distribution, whether through a OEM or system integrators. And then we kind of look at some of the trends that could be changing the way people take or companies take products to market. So why do you need to have the change? What's the current state, right? You have distributors that serve the local market. They are close within a driving distance of a customer. And you need that because they carry stock, a product that, let's say a PLC or an HMI that goes down, they can drive down and deliver that. They are the local expert, the trusted expert of the customer. The customer has a problem, they go down and fix that problem. Another thing that might be, hopefully this is working. There we go, is the local knowledge, the local language knowledge. Let's say if you're in Germany, you get somebody that speaks the German language. But what it changes is the fact that we're connected. So today, while the close proximity was important, the 15 minutes drive, the expert might be available because it's connected anywhere from any device. Items in stock is no longer a requirement because, let's say, Amazon can deliver the next day, 7 days a week, or other companies. And then ability to bring the best resource whenever you need it. It's no longer that's 15 minutes away. You can get somebody with a click of a button and doing that. So what can you do as you're starting with a new product? Let's say MindSphere is relatively new, other new companies, to kind of take advantage of the current market. I'm going to share a case study and how digital transformation has changed our stuff. So first off, we started, my background is engineering. So I started as a software engineer for a PC-based control software 20 years ago. And that was the traditional go-to-market to distributors. I've partnered with Carolina Rudinsky to put together an informational platform, essentially, back in February. We started basically sharing good information about what is real in the industrial IoT, Industry 4.0, whatever you call it. And first, let's define it, what that is. What does it mean to us? It means that asking that question, what is it that you can do differently as the cost of hardware, whether it's computer or sensors, approaching zero? What is it that you can do today as the cost of sending the data up somewhere else for analysis is approaching zero? And more important, what is it that you can do today as the business model is changing from large capital expenditure available only to a few to now a monthly credit card expenditure? And I'll leave it to Pan on that particular. So we went out to say, we're going to put a digital publication to educate folks about those things, to raise awareness on these topics, from smart manufacturing to predictive analytics, predictive maintenance, that you heard so many things about it. And within 9 months, we have over 150. This is actually an old slide in 2 weeks. 150 partners that write for us on a regular basis on such topics from Buenos Aires to Romania to Chicago, Silicon Valley Pulse, about what is real and what's happening in those parts of the world. And by the way, we're not paying them anything because we tap into the passion of people about this subject. And we start with a mission to say we want to educate the C-level because we think that this type of onboarding, depending on your journey of digital transformation, it takes a C-level sponsorship. You have to be engaged with a senior executive to be able to sponsor a project. And we can talk about ways to get engaged. And if you look at what we've done, we've reached that audience. If you trust the metrics that's coming from LinkedIn or Twitter, 93% of the people we have on our audience, and we have a very large audience of approaching 50,000 people in 9 months, 93% of those people make over $150,000, or they are a network of $1.5 million. So we think we're reaching that C-level audience. here's what we've managed when we plugged this in February during the IoT evolution in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We registered for 2 different notable type of industry events. One was for the ARC Forum in Orlando. Another one happened at the same time, was IoT Evolution. And after a couple of days of registration, we saw a huge spike on the IoT Evolution, which traditionally brings mostly people from the IT trying to penetrate the OT space, the operational technology space, the manufacturing. We had maybe 3 or 4 folks from the traditional industrial background requiring a briefing. But yet we had 3.5 days worth of half-an-hour appointment with C-level folks, anywhere from CMO, CTO, sometimes CEO, sometimes companies as large as $3 billion company a year meetings. And we were just a startup. So what was it about it? We didn't have a business plan to say we're going to monetize in one way or another. We wanted to educate, put this portal together. So we started with a passion of education, between a passion of a software engineer with a passion of digital journalist, Dr. Karolina Rudinsky. And essentially what we've accomplished to this is basically a way to get the audience, but within 3 months of sharing great content, we didn't even have the model of how we're going to monetize it, yet a customer calls in before a long weekend and says, I heard about you guys, it's 4:43 p.m. before a long weekend, he says, I heard about you guys, how can you help us out? So I didn't even have a proposal. By 7 o'clock, he says, hey, where is that proposal? I'm still working on it. Here's my email, my personal email, send it to this. And that was the first customer on a month 4. And by the way, it came from Twitter. I'm here on the stage today because of Twitter. Right? We connected with Siemens via Twitter. Next couple of customers came from events. We've also traveled to a lot of events to get the pulse, anywhere from Germany, from Berlin, to West Coast, to Silicon Valley, to Chicago, New Orleans, to various other places. So we combined that. But what it worked for us is really leveraging the power of community, the power of tapping into the knowledge. So here's a sample list of customers, and I've shared with you how we got some of them. The first customer says, be nice to my pocket. I'm putting my trust in you. Says, I want to make sure you're around. So we're basically changing a little bit of model in the way most trade magazine, they charge for a banner, they charge perhaps for an email sending. We're saying we want to treat this as a continuous process of improvement. And we're adding great knowledge every month. We measure it, and next month we're going to add more, and so on. Here's some of the events that we partnered to tap into that community. And if you look at the linear way of doing things, right, you can predict where you're going to be. To quote Dr. Peter Diamandis, we're going to be in 8 steps ahead of you. You're going to be 8 yards. It's a lot harder to predict when you're going to be 2 to the power of 8, 2 to the power of 16, and so on, when you tap into the power of communities. Some of these partners have an email as much as a list of 1.3 million they send, and we're just a startup. So you can see how quickly you can grow that community. So what is it that we've done that was different? We started interviewing the C-level folks and shared thought leadership. In other words, not by me type of articles, but shared their vision, what they see on Industry 4.0, Industrial IoT, China 2025, whatever you called it. We shared their vision. We also looked at, all right, well, there's a little problem with security. How do you address that? So we looked at who is who in cybersecurity. We started a report looking at who's got financing. I call the era of industrial cybersecurity a BS era, and 2 eras actually. The BS, the before Stuxnet, nobody took anybody seriously about security, and yet whoever was talking about security got acquired immediately after 2010. Now there's over 700 companies that do cybersecurity. Luckily for us, there's about a dozen of them that do well. We do webinars, we also do conferences, virtual conferences basically. What does that mean for a virtual conference? The power of Twitter. We wanted to test how well do we do that. We did a half-a-day conference, engaged with 4 companies, and we essentially brought in over 250 people in 9 days, leveraging Twitter, nothing else. We got a technical corner expert, industrial IoT reports, as well as infographics. And here's all the topics that basically we cover on a weekly basis, and then we take that and email that to the customer, leveraging an aggregator. Why an aggregator? To format it because it's easy if you have a last-minute thing to add it via sharing it on Twitter, and it shows up on a newsletter that goes out to the folks. So here's some of the things that as a byproduct. We're here on the influencer program, yet we didn't start to be influencer. What does an influencer mean? If you share great content and people start following you and they share the same content, the same passion, then it gets amplified, the message of a particular one. There are several indices that do this. There's Agilians, there's Analytica, several companies. K-Core Analytics, for instance, they rank us on 5 topics as #1. Again, this is based on the articles that we share from our contributors. Right relevance, #3, that was back in June. And you see several other topics. And a big shout to Carolina Rudinsky, that she's been the key behind growing the Twitter account. This is my business partner, going from 0 to 17,000 people in less than 9 months. Thank you very much.